Welcome back to It Resolves, where we play a new deck every single day. Today's deck is Boros Heroic. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Here at It Resolves, we love to play new decks, have some fun, and hopefully learn a little something along the way. If that sounds like your cup of tea, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really would help us out a lot. If you find you don't enjoy the content or the videos, that's totally okay. You can unsubscribe. You don't have to watch, of course, but we, of course, would really appreciate each and every one of you joining our community. Now, today's deck is Boros Heroic, and we are actually taking this list from Legend VD, so I will link his channel down below if you want to go check him out. This deck really caught my eye. I haven't yet played it, but it's a very similar deck to the old Heroic deck, hence the name, where basically every time you would target a creature with like a pump spell or something like that, it would get a buff. Now, this is a little bit different, but it does feature, obviously, some pseudo-heroic mechanics is what we will call them. So as far as the threats go, the starting point here is Monastery Swiftspear. This is probably the best one-drop in this deck. Coming from a place where we've seen this card do massive work in multiple different formats, we know how good Swiftspear is. It's a 1-2 for 1 with haste and that prowess ability, again, sort of playing into that pseudo-heroic where it's going to power itself up for every non-creature spell that gets played, which is really powerful. We do also have the etching here, so this is a little bit more of a long-term threat, of course. We can drop this down, deal some damage, hopefully get something out on turn 2 to take advantage of that counter, and then on turn 3, of course, it will flip into that 2-2 with haste, which is also quite good. Looking at the 2-drop slot, though, is really where we start to see a lot more powerhouse stuff coming through, so first and foremost, Illuminator Virtuoso. We know how good this is, right? We've seen this in a lot of the Esper Rafine decks. It's taking advantage, again, pseudo-heroic with that Connive ability, being able to power itself up and then ideally getting really strong with that double strike as well. So definitely a lot of power to be had here. It also helps you churn through your deck, which is pretty important in a Boros aggro deck where you normally don't get a whole lot of card selection or card draw. Electrostatic Infantry, also just going to be able to power itself up. Anytime you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get to throw a 1/1 counter on it, and it already has trample built in, so naturally it's going to be able to push through some of the damage as long as you're outpowering a lot of what the opponent's doing, which really shouldn't be too difficult in my assumption. We also have the Argivian Recruiter. Hope I'm saying that correctly. It's a 2-2 for 2, and at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with a greater power than its base power, you actually get just a free creature, which this is only a 2 of. It's a legendary creature, so we obviously can't have too many, but the power here is actually really good because not only now are you getting stronger creatures throughout the game, you're also going wide as well, so you're starting to attack on 2 different axes, which is really important, especially in a deck like this where normally that's not really the case. It's pretty all in. Finally, we do, of course, at the top, we'll kind of work our way down, get to look at some of the more powerful kind of enablers for the deck. Angel Fire Ignition being probably just the best card for this deck. It's a 3-mana spell, gives 2 1/1 counters to a creature, Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Haste. All of that for 3 mana, but not only that, you can flash it back for 4 mana, and so there's a lot of actual like just replayability and powerhouse stuff you can do with this that I think is amazing. We do also have a lot of other pump spells, so we've got Homestead Courage, again with flashbacks, so we're going to be able to replay these, which is great. We do have Lauren's Escape. Instant 1 mana, target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible until the end of the turn, and then you scry 1. This is a really nice little card for this deck because it is our protection spell. We need that protection. Getting that scry is also really good because it allows us to fix the top of our deck, which of course we need, and it plays right into the game plan, right? We're getting a little extra value out of it, so definitely very good. Ancestral Anger, we know how good this card can be. Obviously, it scales up as you go through the game and get more into your graveyard, but it also draws you a card, which is really important because, again, we usually don't have a lot of that. And then finally, we do have Play with Fire as just a removal spell or a little bit of extra damage we need to push through, something like that. This can do it. As far as our land count, we do have 22, which I think is the right number. I don't think you want more than 22 when you're really topping out we'll say at 4 just because of that flashback cost. So that does feel pretty correct to me, but again, I haven't tried this yet. This is going to be a new one for us. Legend VD, thank you so much, of course, for sharing this list. I'm really excited to give it a shot. Guys, let's jump in. Let's see how we do. I think these games will go relatively quick. We'll see. So we hopefully can get a couple extra in, but let's see what we can do. I think this is going to be a fun deck. All right, guys, and here we are for game number 1, and this definitely seems like an easy keep to me. We have the Kimono, which we can then drop into the Recruiter, which will immediately get a 1/1 counter, and then also give us an extra creature. So that definitely seems like a strong start to me. We also do have that Angel Fire Ignition, so we should be able to get a lot done here, and then Play with Fire naturally is just going to be our removal option, so it should give us some really good options here. We are going to have to take a damage, assuming we play in the correct order. I do anticipate it looks like some discard is probably imminent, and so we'll do the best we can to avoid it, but you never know. It happens. It's all good. As long as they don't get rid of the Recruiter, we're good, but that's definitely a big if at this point. Okay, good, they didn't. That's helpful. And we actually don't have to take a damage, which is very helpful. So let's go ahead and do this. It's going to enter with that 1/1 counter on it. We're going to get an extra creature for free here, which is great. I do anticipate some removal in this deck, but getting that 1/1 down is actually surprisingly helpful, given that we know this looks to be a mono black deck. And against a mono black deck, we are anticipating quite a bit of... I'm actually not going to block. We do anticipate quite a bit of things like Invoke Despair, things like that. Looks like we called the bluff. I don't think they were going to pump it up. I think they'd rather do something else. So we'll see what they decide on here. Surprised they didn't do this first so they could have attacked. But that's fine. We are going to be able to... Yeah, so Angel Fire Ignition goes to the graveyard. That's fine. Oh, I really love the escape here. That's helpful. Okay. So I guess the question becomes, how do we want to do this? I do really want to get rid of this. That's a pretty big one. I also just really like the idea of being able to leave this up, though, and potentially just getting rid of this. So let's see what we can do here. I think I'm going to attack with these two, and we'll see what they decide to do in terms of blocking. They don't know that we have the escape, so that's helpful. And what we can do is escape plus Play with Fire. This is ambitious on their end. Okay. I will definitely throw that on the bottom. Getting that freebie is very, very helpful. And I honestly do think just blocking here is probably for the best. This has Menace, which is kind of the tricky part. And so getting that off of the field seems very important. And again, we're still leaving up and getting extra 1/1s here, which aren't necessarily huge, but we have a backup plan, right? Like, we've got an Illuminator Virtuoso with an Angel Fire Ignition in the graveyard at this point, and that's pretty big. We also, I mean, don't even have to run that out yet, but, like, we certainly can. Okay, cool. Again, if they attack, I don't think we block. I think we just take the, what very well might be 4. They are not going to attack. Okay, fair enough. They are leaving up mana for what we anticipate to be, excuse me, a, what I would assume is a Go for the Throat. Which they may just be waiting to run out against a handful of things here. So they can give this Death Touch. Which is good, but I mean, this definitely just avoids that with the Indestructible. Let's go here. I'm gonna do this. I'm not 100% sure about this, to be honest. But I think this is fine, and we can go ahead and get the attack in for 4, and we'll see what they decide to do. They may try and block it or something here, and that's fine. Okay. Cool. We just continuously will be pumping out these little 1/1s. Gaining 4 life there is also quite helpful. I did not want to risk the Recruiter, which is why I did not attack with it. I mean, obviously they've got a removal spell here. Yeah, okay. And that's fine. We've kind of gotten our worth out of it, but I'm kind of glad I went for the Etching because now we spread the threats out, right? Like, this is also a reasonable threat, whereas the Recruiter obviously was a pretty hefty one as well. So We'll see what they decide to do. Oh, interesting. Quite heavy on the threats at this point, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, I think I do attack. We're definitely the threat, you know what I mean? Like, we've got a couple things they really have to deal with, and if they don't, and especially if we just draw like any pump spell, we're in really good shape. I did go very aggressive with the escape. That was one thing that I wonder if that was the right play. I mean, it certainly worked out okay, and I'm glad we did it at that moment, but I'm curious to know if that was really the right call. Sure, that was very, very strong. Okay, so what we'll do is first this. So we will discard. Do I want the counters? I think not. I think we can wait, because we can do it again. Perfect. That's very, very good. Okay. So we are gonna force quite a bit here. This is very strong. Okay, so here I will discard that. I think I just attack with everything and... Oh no. Oh no, we don't have the escape available. That's fine. They're gonna take a lot here, so... As in, they're losing a lot. Alright, well, I did not leave up the white mana, which is a bit of a mistake here, for sure, but actually, no, that's fine. Alright, sick. I mean, they're still forced into blocking, so it really doesn't matter. We definitely just attack with all at this point. They have to block the Virtuoso, and we deal our damage first thanks to the double strike, so it doesn't die, just for the record. And we deal 3. So again, we're kind of just in limbo of like, do they have a big threat or do they not? Thankfully, the escape is actually really helpful here. And there we go, we got the win. Phenomenal, guys. That was definitely a bit trickier than I anticipated, but I think we handled it relatively well. Definitely could have made some different plays, so maybe we can try and look at those as we go through the next couple games, but let's do it. Let's jump into game 2. What's up, guys? Just a quick break from the video to remind you that through the end of December, we will have our new proxy pack available via our Patreon rewards and select tiers. In celebration of Phyrexia All Will Be One coming early next year, we have the amazing original Praetors as our Patreon rewards this month. Now, those include my all-time favorite card, Elishnorn, with Jingataxis, Sheoldred, and Vorinclex. Again, if you're interested in picking these up, guys, we really would appreciate the support, and it's a great way to pick up these awesome proxies every single month. You can do so at patreon.com/itresolves. Without further ado, though, let's jump right back into the video. All right, guys, and here we are for game number 2. This is a bit of a tricky one. I will try it. Having only one threat is definitely not where you want to be for the most part, so I'm glad we drew a second. Problem solving. Look at that. Definitely a little tricky, though, because this is going to be another mono black deck, it appears, at least, which is not really the deck we're going to be great against for the most part. We got very lucky in the first game because we had the Recruiter, right? But I don't think that's necessarily the norm. And so this is going to be a little bit tricky. I anticipate them having, like, a cut down here, but I don't think we can risk blocking with the... Ooh. Do we go Forge or do we go? Let's go here. All right, so let's do this actually. And we'll see what they do. That's fine, I don't care about that. Okay. So this does have Vigilance until the end of the turn, which is super helpful. And now the question becomes, do we leave up the escape and go for the... I think we leave up the escape, right? That has to be the right call. I just don't think we have the opportunity to really lose too much here. This is fine because we can Lauren's escape and save this, which is huge, right? Do we keep that? Probably. Not actually 100% sure about that. But this is definitely a clean kill, which is great. And now what we can do is throw Recruiter out. Let's throw... I guess just this out onto here. Just to be able to like power this out, because we do have the escape. I feel a little bit more comfy just kind of going for it. They also just don't have a whole lot going on. They've only got 2 lands. If they do have a removal spell, we definitely have an answer for it. So like I'm feeling relatively good about this. We also have the Angel Fire's Ignition next turn, which is obviously massive. Just because this has trample, they're not going to be able to do too much about it. All right, sick. Do we throw this out? No, we don't, right? So, okay, let's not take unnecessary damage. I hate the auto tapper here. It's terrible. All right, so we throw this out. It's gonna get a lot of extra value, and there we go. We got the win. That was just clean, but they definitely got stuck on lands, and so that was very fortunate for us. I do feel a little bad, but we definitely played that like 100% right in terms of just really going all in on the infantry. So that felt good. Let's jump into game 3. Let's see what we can do. All right, guys, here we are for game number 3. Might be our last game. We'll see how fast it goes, but I think we can keep this. Definitely a lot heavier than we have been seeing on the end of, ooh, I think we go this first. Definitely a lot heavier on the threat end, right? We've only got 1, like, pump spell, and everything else is basically a threat or a land, which I'm not necessarily complaining about, don't get me wrong, but that is worth noting. So, what do we go for? I think we go for the Virtuoso. I'm not 100% sure. This is just definitely the highest upside. I'm anticipating them having some removal spell here, though, which is the only tricky part. Maybe not. Or a bounce spell or something. I mean, this very clearly is a control list. Yep. And there we go. Fair enough. Don't love that, but that's fine. May want to save the Iganjo. I'm not 100% sure what their game plan is, if that makes sense. And so making sure we've got some good solid answers there does seem pretty reasonable. Do we anticipate them having a sweeper, like a depopulate? Probably, honestly. In that case, I am going to just go here. The reason being, if we just throw out all of our creatures and they depopulate, we're kind of just dead in the water. We don't have anything to do. And so I'd rather just go in on one thing, at least for now. Anticipating that they probably will remove it or sweep it at some point soon. And even if they don't, right, like, we can just keep pushing out the Angel Fire Ignitions, and like that's enough to really do some work. And so at some point they're gonna have to make a move and figure out what to do. This Wandering Mind is a very good card because it will give them some options, but I don't anticipate that being their saving grace here. We'll see. I like this deck, man. This deck is sick. Legend VD, you did a great job with this one. It's been a blast. I like that a lot. Okay, so they did get to touch the Spirit Realm, which is a sign they may not have a sweeper, but let's do this. I'm all in for drawing extra cards, so let's make sure that we do that, I think. Let's do this. Let's make sure we're playing in the correct order. And then let's play this. So that actually bolsters up our Monastery Swift Spear and allows that to attack in. So I think that was the correct order. We could have actually gotten an extra damage in if we had played the Swift Spear first, but we weren't sure we were going to, so I think that's okay. And now we have 2 threats. So now they could touch the Spirit Realm on, I assume, the Etching. And we still have the Monastery Swift Spear to actually take advantage of the Angel Fire Ignition. So we are just trying to set up for the best possible turns, right? That's all we're trying to do. Man, I really wish we could Angel Fire Ignition after playing this. That would be really sick. Okay, so I think we... I don't want to just run that out. Let's do this. See what we draw, because we will get to draw a card here, which is also just a really good card because it's going to bolster this up. Oh, nice. Okay. I don't just want to play that. So let's attack in. Anticipating they'll probably try and block. Maybe not, actually. It does have trample. Maybe that's just not a good call. They are just going to take it. That's pretty intense. Okay. I will now play the infantry because we have the escape. We want to take advantage of the counter anyway. So I think this is reasonable. And now we can escape this turn to save one of our creatures, which I do anticipate needing to do. And then we can make a call on either playing the Iganjo and then just the Angel Fire Ignition or whatever we need to do. All right, so let's see what they target. They don't have enough for a sweeper, which is worth noting. We will throw that on the bottom. I don't think we need a land. I think we want like a pump spell or something to guarantee the win more so than a land, because we can already play the Angel Fire Ignition. This is now indestructible and has hexproof, so this is winning the game. Guys, that's 3 straight wins. That was an undefeated run with a deck we have literally never played before. Legend VD, man, that was amazing. Let's wrap this one up, guys. All right, guys, so Boros Heroic, created by the amazing Legend VD. What do we think about it? I mean, truthfully, it's a simple game plan, but it works really well, at least on the best of 1 ladder. I highly anticipate if you were to take this onto a traditional standard ladder or a tournament or something like that, probably not going to do anywhere near as well. It doesn't feel like a deck that necessarily sideboards incredibly well. There isn't a current sideboard for this. It's very clearly a best of 1 deck, but it is very, very solid in terms of doing what the best of 1 ladder is there for, which is grind games out. It does it quick, it does it efficiently, and we were able to get 3 straight wins. That feels pretty good. We haven't had like a true undefeated run in a little while, so that feels really nice. Legend VD did a great job with this one. I don't think there are any major changes that I would make. Maybe tweak numbers here and there, but it felt like I think the most important thing to get right in a deck like this is the balance between the pump spells and the threats, as in the creatures. And what's so nice about this is it has what feels like kind of the perfect split, where you generally will have a couple threats in your hand, and even in the case of like that last game where we were definitely overabundant on threats, kind of worked out for us because we could 1-for-1 threats for the most part, and then if they did touch the Spirit Realm, we had another one as backup. I think we played that relatively smart as well, just in case they had that depopulate or something. I don't think they did, of course, but that certainly would have been a very helpful game plan against them. So I just think this deck kind of works. It's a very solid one. Some great cards, some really efficient cards. Legend VD, you killed it, man. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much for being here. As we get closer to the holidays, guys, we may see just a drop off in terms of how many videos we put out. Family, things like that are definitely taking precedence. So I encourage you guys, of course, to do the same. Enjoy some time with your family. Enjoy some time hopefully celebrating whatever it is you celebrate. Enjoy it together. I hope that you guys have a fantastic holiday season. And so we will probably take some breaks here and there until the new year, but we're still going to be putting out videos every once in a while, so do keep up with us there. So thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like the video if you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys again in the next one.